Today on debate day, the Harris campaign released an ad seeming to want to goad Donald Trump with a clip from the convention. Let me roll you a little portion of this.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Interesting, because everybody says they want to talk about policy, and then everyone kind of gets down in the dirt a little bit, and that turns voters off. So why do you think this is effective, and are you sure it's not going to make people think, well, this is just more of the same?
Well, look, there are a lot of ads in this campaign, and a lot of them are about her policies and her backgrounds. Her background. She's not going to let this distract her. And if she's not going to take any crap from Donald Trump on that stage today, she is a prosecutor, and she's going to make sure that she gets her points across. But she's not going to be distracted by the name calling. I think it is turning off America, and it may be one of the reasons why the Harris campaign chose to run such an ad, reminding people that this is really what Donald Trump is all about. It's all about him and his narcissism, and every decision that he makes comes back to whether it will advantage him or not. And when Kamala Harris talks about how she gets up every morning.
This guy stinks. No, this is good. This is good for like old people.
I think people will see.
It's good in general, though. Like I think talking about how selfish Donald Trump is like pretty decent. Is a decent way to like remind people of what it used to look like when he was president. Hasan, it's regular 2016. The reverse 2016 is off. Representative Debbie Dingell, who raised the alarm about Clinton's Michigan support in 2016, expresses concern about Harris's standing in the debate. Yeah, I think it probably has to do with Gaza. She's going to keep losing momentum in Michigan every day that passes, where Israel kills another, like, Israel will, like, go and fucking bomb another refugee camp, like another tent. Israel will go and crater another fucking tent city, and then, you know, you can say nobody cares, but no, people do care. We're talking about Michigan. I think it actually even hurts her a little bit in Pennsylvania.
Sometime around 5, 6 o'clock, we're expecting the worst conditions around 6 till Thursday at 2 a.m.
Okay, we're moving away from the hurricane forecast, getting back to the real hurricane.
People think that's an indication of something, and let me tell you, there are no complaints. And so whatever you think is the bottom that he would go to, no, he would go further than that. If that's his strength, his weakness is a lack of discipline, and the fact that when he's told...
PA doesn't have as many Arab Muslim Americans as Michigan. No, I know. I'm aware of this. I think in Michigan it's entirely too consequential. In Pennsylvania, I said it will matter as well.
About it. But
I'm just looking at the polls, man. I'm looking at the polls, big dog. I'm looking at the polls that says that Kamala Harris stands to only gain and lose nothing if she were to separate herself from Biden on Gaza.
20, whether he'll do it or not.
I also think the point you were making about Trump not talking like a politician was certainly true in 2016. Also to some extent in 2020, but just like if you go back and you watch old videos of Joe Biden and those old debates, the Donald Trump of today is not the Donald Trump of yesteryear. And he has slowed down himself in a lot of ways. He's not as quick on his feet. He doesn't talk like a politician, but it makes a lot less sense than even compared to 4 years ago. And that is part of the dynamic that will be much more pronounced on the stage tonight than it was with Biden, because of how Biden really, really struggled. Trump is struggling. He's struggling with putting sentences together, with making points make sense.
Fuck,
and
Michigan,
he struggled
40%.
at the debate that you all moderated. It just wasn't the number one thing that people noticed, because something else was happening on that debate
already.
stage.
So something that Speaker Johnson has told...
What does that mean? Chatter, you couldn't even like shit sling correctly. Try again. You got one more shot at it. Okay.
social
again.
media a crude suggestion that she had exchanged sexual favors to get ahead in her career. There's zero evidence for that, and it's a disgusting, sleazy, slimy thing to say. I have to believe that his advisors are most worried of him going there.
Absolutely. They're worried about what they can't even fathom, even beyond that, even that was a repost. And, you know, it's totally understandable that we are focusing on Donald Trump because he is a character unlike any that we have ever covered in our lifetime. But I do think that tonight the focus is going to be much more by the people who matter most, which the undecided voters, particularly in places like where we are right now in Pennsylvania, on her, because he's a known quantity and she isn't. And if you look at all the polls, particularly those from over the weekend, Jake, the question of who is she and what does she stand for, she has a lot of room to grow. Now, she has a lot of room to grow, and she also has room to fall. So there's risk and reward with the fact that she's a bit unknown. But I do think that the sort of reframing a little bit of how, certainly I'll tell you how I'm going to be looking at it, is instead of, you know, what is he going to do because he's such a wild card, I'm really interested to see how she presents herself in a way that those voters will get to understand.
Well, and to Chris's point about Trump's strengths on the debate stage and looking at those poll numbers for Harris, one of the things that he did well in 2016 was he's able to find people's weaknesses, or maybe even if it's not their known weakness, he can turn it into one against them. That is what he's going to try to do with Harris and her policy reversals on that debate stage tonight. And also just the fact that he has been on a presidential debate stage obviously many more times than she has. That's what his team is counting on. But what Donald Trump is also about to do is be on a debate stage with a woman for the first time in 8 years. And Donald Trump does have a woman problem when it comes to voters. His campaign is acutely aware of this. They look at the numbers. And when you look at single women and the deficit that he has with them, including in recent polls, those numbers have not changed. That's something that he's going to be dealing with on that debate stage tonight. And so that is what really, when you talk to his aides and his allies about what they're the most concerned about tonight, is that will resurrect itself on the debate stage, because she is going to be trying to get under his skin. I was at Trump Tower on Friday when he held a press conference just hours after appealing the E. Jean Carroll defamation and sexual abuse verdict. He essentially just ranted about it for over 60 minutes, and you could see what a sensitive issue it is for him. Basically making clear to the Harris campaign, this is something that she could use, that she could invoke to get under his skin, and may very well do so tonight. His campaign isn't quite sure how he'll respond to that.
Coming up, another take on what to expect tonight when California Governor Gavin Newsom joins us here in Philly. It's all leading up to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and their historic showdown that you will see live on CNN in just minutes.
Look at it.
Was I ever a fan of Caitlin Collins? No, she used to be, I think, wasn't Caitlin Collins a Daily Wire correspondent originally?
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking.
Harris, no stranger to the stage, from early in her career to her Senate run in 2016, when her opponent awkwardly dabbed.
So there's a clear difference between the candidates.
Am I
in this
stressed?
race.
Why would I be stressed, brother? Why would I be stressed at all?
Allies point to Harris's past as a prosecutor and arguing her experience helps shape sharp arguments.
Whatever the vice
You can't be
president
stressed if you are, if you have no assumptions, like no belief at this point.
With her future boss.
If you keep your expectations low, then you can be pleasantly surprised if the Democratic Party ends up exceeding your already low expectations.
And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
But Harris has had to play defense, too, like in another debate that cycle, accused of hypocrisy for shifting to a more progressive position in a crowded primary.
There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
For his part, Mr. Trump has more debate experience as a presidential nominee.
Hasan, I bet there's nothing to worry about. If Trump wins, he gets a tax break, brother. Yeah, totally. I love Donald Trump.
We finally beat Medicare.
That's why I spent most of my professional career shitting on him.
First ever debate in 2020, notable
You know?
just as much for what Mr. Trump didn't say when asked if he'd condemn white supremacists.
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
And candidate
was
Trump's first
insane.
debate against Hillary Clinton in 2016 still holds the record for the most watched ever, 84 million viewers. At later face-offs, the two sparring over foreign policy and Russia's Vladimir Putin.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
Mr. Trump memorably looming behind his opponent on stage. At other points, delivering personal attacks.
Such a nasty woman.
And earlier in the Republican primaries, responding to a crass insult about the size of his hands.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? I guarantee you there's no problem.
Now, tonight, Vice President Harris hoping to make good on past pledges.
I'd wipe the floor with him.
But according to the rules of this debate, it's former President Trump who will get the last word.
We're going to make it great again.
Now, some of those moments that you just saw may be mitigated
What
by
the
the
fuck?
rules we've been talking about at tonight's debate. Think about those mics muted when it's not each candidate's turn to speak. That may cut down on some of that overtalk or interruptions, if you will. There's also, of course, the rule that each candidate must stay behind their microphone. No stage wandering, a la 2016. Lester, Savannah?
Yeah, there's not going to be a handshake.
For more on what we can expect
There's
from
not
both
gonna be a
candidates
handshake.
tonight, let's bring in President Biden's
What happens first
former
during
White
the
House
debate?
Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
Predict with
and
channel
Donald
points.
Trump's
Wait, what the
former
fuck? How are you
Deputy
able
White
to
House
predict
Press
with
Secretary
higher?
Hogan, good to have both
8?
of you here today.
God damn,
Jen, let
first
me start
Gamba
with you. I
is
think it's fair to
out,
say a lot
ladies
of
and
Democrats
gentlemen.
were rattled by those latest New York Times
We got
Siena poll
8
numbers. Is part of the Vice President's
predictions.
mission and task tonight to reassure Democratic voters that all is well?
I think it's part of the mission, but the other part of the mission is to think about that 28%.
Submissions are open. You can gamble with channel points. You don't get nothing about with channel points.
So what's tricky about this,
Trump's
Lester,
mics
if you're
get
the vice
muted.
president,
Kamala's
is
mic gets
a lot
muted.
of Democrats out
Trump
there
says
have been
borders
waiting for
are.
somebody to eviscerate
Kamala says
Donald
liar.
Trump. They might
Trump
progressive
says
Democrats and other
Haitian.
Democrats who might be rooting for that.
Kamala
That is
laughs
not
into
the
the
right
mic.
strategy for
They
the
shake
totality of
hands.
this debate,
None of
because
the
that
above.
28% who want more information, who want to know more about her positions, that may not be
I don't
what
know
they're
why
looking
y'all
for.
put none
She
of
has
the
most
above
to
on
gain
here, but
or lose
fuck it, why
because
not?
She has 30% roughly of the electorate that's still curious. Hogan, as I bring you in here, Donald Trump, I mean, for better or for worse, it's a very calcified, set in stone opinion that people have. Some love him, love him, love him. Some do not love him, love him, love him. So what is his number one job tonight?
I think what he's going to try and do is make people remember his record while he was
This guy's hairpiece
president.
freaks me
and then
out.
what Kamala Harris is going to try and do is make people forget her record as vice president. People remember they could afford gas and groceries just a few short years ago. There weren't wars breaking out all over the world. We had a rational, sane southern border policy. So he's got to remind people of that. He's got to expose her radical record at the same time, but he needs to stay on message. He needs to focus on what the American people care about every single day and not run rabbits. There's no doubt she's going to have those canned lines ready to go, those contrived stories like she did in the package that you guys just played. Look, she called Joe Biden a racist and a rapist on a debate stage, had merchandise ready to go, but she couldn't parlay that into anything positive for her campaign. She'll do that to Donald Trump tonight. The question becomes, will he follow her down that trail, or will he stick to the points that the American people care about most?
And Jen, does the Vice President have to have things that she wants to remind the public about in terms of history?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the challenges for her is that every candidate wants to be the change candidate, right? You have a former president and a sitting vice president, so they're not the natural change candidates. She has to figure out on this debate stage how she can both embrace part of her record that people may like and also build on it and tell people that she's going to do something different. That is very tricky.
Sounds like you're saying she has a higher bar.
She does have a higher bar. I think there's higher expectations for her. I will say, I'm not sure that looking in the past, that's not what the public is really looking for. We know that from every election ever. People want a forward-looking plan and vision. So the other part of what she needs to do is tell people exactly what she's going to do.
Do you think she's made it unnecessarily hard on herself in this particular moment? Because she hasn't done very much off the cuff, unscripted. She did one interview since being elevated to the top of the ticket. Now it's this night. Does that just ratchet up the stakes when they don't need to be ratcheted up any higher?
I actually think the biggest challenge for her...
I don't expect anything from Kamala Harris that's going to be like new or unique, but I do expect some unique boulders from Donald Trump. One that is like in line with what he has already presented himself as, obviously like presenting himself as a peaceful dove, kind of like the 2016 Hillary campaign, where he'll say he's going to end the wars. He's been saying that nonstop, and that Kamala Harris is going to only continue wars. But I think a real swap out would be if he were to present like a weed opinion. He is desperate enough. He's so desperate with the RFK move. Like, it's obvious that he's going after cranks. He's trying to pick up anywhere he can. He's trying to pick up votes from any part of the oftentimes underrepresented voters. So if he were to turn around and like hit something crazy with weed, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to legalize weed, I think that could be a truly unique predicament. Trying to maximize chances to win, desperate? Yes. I think that it is desperate when you are going back to the guy that you didn't even offer a phone call to after you got shot, or didn't offer a position to after you got shot, and being like, actually, if you fucking pull out of the race and endorse me, I will give you a position. That spells desperation. It's understandable, though, because before the swap out happened, Donald Trump thought that he was going to cruise to a W. Okay. Now that that swap occurred, and Kamala Harris is actually defeating him in the polls, even though it is getting tighter and tighter, and she should be fucking desperate to pick up as many votes as possible, perhaps even more desperate than Donald Trump, considering where this race should be at this moment. Because the race has gotten tighter, but even though Donald Trump is in a losing position, he might actually turn around and talk about some crazy shit about decriminalizing marijuana. Debate predictions: Harris repeats robotic State Department copy regarding Gaza, but tries to contrast herself with Trump by saying he uses Palestinian as a slur, which is a very weak attack point. Trump whines about Biden dropping out in the first 15 minutes. She laughs at him, and that's when he gets triggered. Yeah, these are incredibly safe predictions, especially the Gaza thing. Yes, Kamala Harris is going to fucking repeat the same goddamn thing she's repeated a million times over at this point.
Presidential debate. Even apparently President Zelensky expected to tune in. And the outcome, I think, of this presidential debate is going to be critical to the outcome of Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion. Martha?
Okay, thanks so much, Ian. And Ian and I have both spent a great deal of time in Afghanistan.
Another aspect that we didn't talk about is that they're probably going to get like, Kamala Harris will talk about Ukraine, I suspect. She might even say things like Donald Trump wants Ukraine to be invaded. And then Trump will then still turn around and be like, no, I want to end the war. You just want to continue the war. They'll both be really reactionary towards China, obviously. They'll try to outcompete who's worse on China. I think one of the best counters to the fucking Trump, like 13 of our best soldiers were killed during Afghanistan. Could be a number of different counters to that. Obviously, number one being it's your Afghan withdrawal plan that you were too cowardly to actually pull through on, and Joe Biden actually pulled the trigger on. But a more effective counter to that would be 67 soldiers died in Afghanistan in your 4 years of the presidency. 13 died. Not a single more soldier should ever die. That's why this administration pulled out of Afghanistan. Obviously, Kamala Harris would never say that, though, because that goes against the I am going to have the strongest, most hard-dicked military of all time. So, that would make too much sense for Kamala Harris to say something like that. Turns out when you pull out of an active war zone, less soldiers die. But we'll see. Sanders announces support to nuke the filibuster. Okay, great. In terms of the worst counters, yes, suckers and losers would be the worst counter. You called veterans suckers and losers. And then he'll say, no, I didn't. And then they'll get and Trump will get triggered. I think there's a lot of stuff. Freedom Pfeiffer, thank you for the 25, get the subs. I think there's a lot of stuff overall where, ultimately, if you get Trump triggered, like, you have a really good opportunity of like watching him unwind. And we'll see. I mean, Kamala Harris is a black woman. Trump doesn't really do well against women or black people in general. So I feel like he might get like really fucking pissed off, depending on how pissy he is, like what kind of a shitty mood he's in. If he's like really low energy, that's one thing. But he might actually fucking start, bouldering Kamala and saying some insane shit. That will look really bad.
Harris 1/10 of 1 point in the North Carolina average right now. Trump by a half a point in Georgia. These are very, very close. Although you take a look and you see one here that's a little different. That's Wisconsin. Harris on average just over 4 points ahead right now. This was, keep in mind, Wisconsin, the source of the single biggest polling miss in 2020. It had Joe Biden well ahead, nearly 10 points on average. He won the state by less than 1 point. The polling here was way off in 2016 as well. There was a pretty big miss in Michigan, too. States with large blue-collar white populations where Trump has run up very big numbers. The polls didn't sufficiently capture that in 16 and 20. Is that going to be different in 2024, or is there more Trump support in some of these states than it appears in the polls? That's a major question to think about as you see more numbers come out. And then you just see in this column right here, the electoral votes. Again, 7 core battleground states. Where's tonight's debate? It is in the state that is first among equals when it comes to battleground states. 19 electoral votes in Pennsylvania, more than any other. What does that mean functionally? If you're one of these campaigns and you lose Pennsylvania, mathematically, if you want to offset that, you got to win at least 2 others to make up for the 19 that you're losing out on in Pennsylvania. This is the king of the battleground states.
Steve, not to bring up back memories, but weren't we here until Saturday, the week of the election, waiting for Pennsylvania?
That's right, 11:30 Saturday morning in 2020.
Oh, my God. But who's counting, right? Okay, well, we shall see. Thank you. That sets it up very nicely for our next guest. What do voters want to hear from candidates tonight? These battleground voters, they're the deciders. Kate Snow is in Pennsylvania talking to those undecided swing voters. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Savannah. Yeah, we're at the Churchville Inn. It's a restaurant in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That's right outside of Philadelphia. This is a county that really could be pivotal in the state of Pennsylvania. And as Steve was just saying, it could be pivotal. Pennsylvania, as it goes, could be pivotal for the whole election. So we gathered 3 voters with me. They are all undecided voters. Each one of you is registered differently. We have Lynn Kelleher, who's a registered Republican and a realtor here in town. We have Hannah Reed, an independent, a mom of 3. And then we have Andrew Wallace, who's registered Democrat and owns this place, by the way, the owner of the restaurant. What's interesting, though, is you all cannot decide. And Lynn, you told us that you find Trump, I forget your word, reprehensible. You really don't like the guy. But you find Harris, you said that you don't understand what she stands for. She needs to explain. What are you looking for tonight?
For me, the election is a decision between economics and morals. I like some of Trump's economic policies.
Yeah.
I find I abhor him, quite frankly.
Because of his morals.
Because of his morals or lack thereof. But she, I think, is talking a lot of fluff. She hasn't said anything substantive. I don't know that she has the experience or
Bro, I'm sorry. Small business owners should be jailed, dog. That's it.
Wherewithal.
New policy, okay? Send them to the fucking, send them to the rural farmland to toil the land, okay?
I'm going to note, all 3 of you voted for Trump in 2016 and then changed in 2020.
Oh, my God!
I'm going to go to you. You said you're very frustrated going into this debate.
I hate these people. The fate of this country will be decided by the collective dumbest people on the planet.
Policies no longer about the real issues in this country, like the economics or the inflation.
You don't like the name calling.
The name calling. I mean, the back and forth. It's about who can get one over on the other, to the point that we are not pushing policies through just because the person that put it through was from another party.
And Andrew, let me ask you about your issues, because we were talking earlier. You like
if you think these are the dumbest people you haven't been reading the liberals in the chat, these are the liberals in the chat. Their opinion is no different than the liberals in the chat.
So what do you need to hear tonight?
I feel left behind by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, Harris received 0 votes. I would have liked to have a say in the primary, and they didn't give me that. I feel that they think that they know what's best for me. Harris hasn't said anything. Harris's policies, a lot of them, have just been stolen from Trump. Taxes on tips, putting up the border wall.
Dog, this is a Trump voter, bro. Come on.
With her own ideas. So I'm waiting to see anything from her that is an original idea and not stolen from the other candidate.
All right, guys, we're going to watch this debate together. And
bro, I love when independent thinkers just literally repeat whatever the last article headline they read. Like, independent thinkers, man, I love them. I love them so much.
Counsel in the Obama administration, he prepped John Kerry by playing George W. Bush. And Judd Gregg is a former senator from New Hampshire who prepped George W. Bush by playing John Kerry. And Senator, let me begin with you.
How fun.
You know, the candidates, of
We're
course,
sort of hitting you with a tongue tire there.
Yes, it's not easy. The Harris folks really want to put forth her and introduce her to people who don't know a lot about her right now. Is this a good time for any candidate to change who they are, who the viewers and voters perceive them to be?
When asked which way they lean, 90% of undecided voters lean one way and will vote that way. It's a fake constituency. It's about voters versus non-voters. There's 5 states winning on this analysis. Yeah. Yeah, the only real people that matter in this situation are the people that voted for Kamala Harris, that don't know if they'll voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that don't know if they'll vote for Kamala Harris this time around. That's it. Those are the only people that you need to bring forward. And the Harris campaign is not doing a good enough job bringing those people out. So it's kind of stupid to have this conversation back and forth. Like, it's very obvious that there is a bunch of different issues that she could tackle immediately, or at least certain policy positions that they have. Certain policy positions that they've brought forward, but not really hyped on, not really fucking really hit the button on, that they should be talking about. Ooh, let's see what Josh Shapiro has to say.
Harris's vision for the future is a stark contrast to the dangerous vision of the future that Donald Trump has, one of less freedom and more chaos under Donald Trump.
We will see how it unfolds on the debate stage. Governor Shapiro, thank you so much.
All right, so we've talked to surrogates from both campaigns. Coming up, we are going to talk to somebody who has both debated Donald Trump and helped him prepare for big debates, with tonight's showdown less than 14 minutes away.
He turned his Obama voice off. Yeah, I know. That was weird. I guess he only puts it on when he's doing crowd work. What do you think of the democracy is at risk narrative? I mean, I think it was a solid narrative. They don't even talk about that as much, to be honest. Like, that was definitely a major point for a lot of voters early on. And I do suspect that it was a major point for a lot of voters early on because that's the only thing that the Democrats talked about. And how are you not having a panic attack right now? Wait, why would I have a panic attack right now? Dude, I've covered so many goddamn debates. What the fuck? Why would I be? Why the fuck would I be panicking? This is like one of the few instances where we have some decent fucking content that we can actually sink our teeth into, you know what I mean? I'm losing it. I think liberals lose it because they don't like pay a lot of attention to what is going on in the race, and then they come in for like the high notes like this, and then they are people think you're panicking. Why? Why do people think I'm panicking? Bryce Hall is shitting his pants.
If Kamala Harris becomes president, I'm definitely going to off myself. And to answer the second thing, I hope Donald.
I don't know how to describe it, but you sound like a Discord mod. Okay. I mean, I am I am the owner of a very large Discord server. JD said today he wouldn't have certified the election in 2020. It plays in the Dem narrative of democracy.
Would you
being a
have
mistake.
certified? I'll ask you for the third
Again,
time.
I would have asked the states to submit alternative slates of electors and let the country have the debate about what actually matters and what kind of an election.
Chalk that up once again for the Republicans throwing at the behest of the Democratic Party. There you have it. Any moment where you're like, the Dems are really throwing this race, just, tune into what the Republicans are saying. And they'll usually be saying shit like Haitians are eating your cats and ducks, or they'll be out here finding they'll be out here finding like a new minority group to fucking attack to try to start a pogrom, or saying stuff like, yeah, no, I would do January 6th. I'd do January 7th. I'd do January 8th if I could. So that's cool. Look no further.
Election that we had.
You
in
wouldn't
these
have
important
certified,
states.
to be clear.
I would have asked the states to submit alternative slates of
I think
electors.
that's what you're saying.
That's what I would have
So-
done. Again, I've said that publicly many times. But
You was asked to not certify it.
Sure.
So would you have certified? I'll ask you for the third
Again,
time.
I would have asked the states to submit alternative slates of electors.
Matt Walsh explicitly tweeted he didn't want Haitians coming here legally either. Okay, well, I don't want Matt Walsh. I would much rather deport Matt Walsh and have a Haitian family in his stead. Okay? Like 100%. 100%. What is his footprint on this nation? He is a shit stain. Okay? All he does is fucking cry about like teenage genitals. Like that's all he does. He is just a patently unlikable, gross person overall, hard to look at. Laura Loomer happy about 2,000 people dying. Oh yeah. I mean, Laura Loomer being on the flight with Donald Trump is insane. The media won't even fucking cover it that much. It seems like there is a little bit of outrage fatigue on Donald Trump's like insane shit. And it's kind of beneficial for Donald Trump. Dare I say, not a conspiratorial minded person on this, but it almost feels like they're in the tank for Trump because they do actually talk about a lot of his failures, but like some of his fuck ups are so glaring and so insane that it blows my mind. Like this is the type of shit that 2016 media would be eating. Okay. Like even 2020 media would be eating this. 2022 media would be eating this. Like this is basically like having Nicholas Fuentes over for dinner at Mar-a-Lago, which he did do. So it's kind of crazy that he was just like, yeah, Nicholas Fuentes is a bridge too far, but Laura Loomer is good. Like she also is a neo-Nazi. Oh. Big Boy Christie on ABC. Oh, hell yeah.
After the 2020 first debate against Joe Biden, that the other Donald Trump is not the one that's a winning formula. The question's going to be, will he be able to continue to maintain that approach through questioning by David and Lindsay and through any comments that Vice President Harris makes in his direction? And that'll be the key to how he performs tonight.
And you and I were talking, you helped prepare him for those 2016 debates against Hillary Clinton. He told you that he had respect for Hillary Clinton, that Hillary Clinton was...
How is Chris Christie the only man in America with no access to Ozempic? Like, no fat shame, but like, I just don't understand it. Like, look at fucking like Rex Tillerson and shit. Like, these guys have all dropped like 200 pounds. Even I think Trump might be doing a diet. Chris Christie's the only motherfucker who's like, nah, man, those fucking chicken parm subs, they're delicious, they're delectable. I ain't stopping. Okay, I'm a big boy.
He took her lightly. I do think he took Joe Biden lightly in 2020. And clearly during the prep sessions that I had with him, it was very, very difficult to get him to focus on what Joe Biden might or might not do.
That's
in
how you
that
know he's a
first
real
debate,
eater? Oh,
and
I knew
think
that
his
already.
performance in part reflected that. So the question's going to be, is what he's saying publicly what he really believes? We know that often with Donald Trump, that's performance. But I will tell you that in his 2016 prep, he was serious about getting ready for Hillary Clinton. In his 2020 debate prep, he was completely unserious about getting ready for Joe Biden. I think performances in both those debates reflected that approach.
All right, Chris Christie, you'll be watching with us. Martha?
And we have about 6 minutes left before the
I
debate,
think
so let's
this
bring in
community is one of the only communities online, just anywhere really, that actually genuinely likes Chris Christie. I feel like he has this weird energy about him where, like, people who actually do go out and vote just fucking despise him. Like, demographics that want to go out and vote for either party, like, they all unify on the principle that they just fucking hate Christopher Christie. I like him a lot because he's a big boy, and I like big boys. You know this already. That's why I like JB Pritzker.
Go to their kitchen table and say, look, I have some ideas that I want to share with you. There's so much that we have done together over the last 4 years, but here's what I think we can do together over the next 4 years. Be positive in her approach and really
All right, 5 minutes remaining.
we don't want to go back to the chaos and the confusion, the disaster that made, of course, the American people go out in droves in 2020 to fire the former president. Say, I want to be a president that lead all Americans. I want to keep us strong and secure, and here's the plan that I want to share with you tonight.
And Donna, I of course meant Biden. She has to own up to the Biden administration's any
Do not
mistakes
keep
they made
muting
too,
the
and Donald
debate
Trump is
for
gonna-
fuck's sake. The debate hasn't started yet. And let me tell you, I probably will mute every now and then. So just get ready for that. I most likely won't be muting the debate. But, you know, don't come in here and get mad at me. It's about to start. But what else is about to start is the top of the hour ad break. And you will see them at the top of the hour. It'll be 3 minutes long. If you no longer want to see those ads, however, and I'm running it early before the debate starts, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free. Put Donna in fast mode. You can subscribe for free with a Twitch Prime, of course. You can get your bingo cards ready, ! bingo. That's another thing. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's the 3 minute ad break now. It's coming for you. But if you're not lucky, you got to make your own luck, you know? Here's the 3 minute ad break now. Holy shit, everyone is writing ! bingo. Where's Ed Ingermentum? He has not DM'd me yet. I'm waiting for a DM to see if he's ready. He is more of a Kamala hopeful than myself, if we're being real here. I'm going to call him. Okay.
Oh, hey.
Hello. All right.
Sorry,
before the debate starts, you got 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes to make your case because you're the #1 Kamala dick rider is what the streets are saying. Go.
I'm not. I wrote like two. Fine, whatever. Well, yeah, I'm gonna bring up some fucking esoteric shit for this. So, we have had like actual elections where voters actually vote, like really, like in real races for the past 2 years. In those elections, Democrats have outperformed by like what the estimated baseline 50-50 vote is by 6 points. So like that adds up to like a pretty good, like kind of basic, strong baseline for Democrats, similarly to what they saw in 2022. And last month we had the primary elections in Washington. Those elections have predicted, like often contrary to the polls themselves, what like the environment will be like. In 2018, they said it would be Democratic blowout when people thought it would be close, and it was. In 2020, they said it would be relatively close race when the polls said it would be a Biden blowout, and it was. And in 2022, they said it would also be close when like the polls said it would be a red wave, and that also was true. This isn't copium. This is actual like fucking. This is a poll with a sample size of 2 million people. And the current results in Washington that came in last month showed roughly like a D+4 result. So, like, if that's really good for Democrats, the problem, and something that you've keyed in on a lot, which is completely correct, is that like if Kamala can match this performance, she'll probably be fine. But the thing is that she's a totally new person. People don't really know what to make of her, and she's not necessarily matching that like kind of baseline trusted Democrat level consistently, which could be her undoing if she doesn't stop talking about fucking bullshit all the time and actually talks about like shit that people care about.
Yeah, I think that I mean, she's a charisma suck. She always has been. I've never been like she's got like auntie vibes or whatever type voter. But I always assumed that she could at least make up for it by like presenting good policies that address people's like genuine concerns. And I think they are like arrived at that in a weird moment. It's like one of those weird moments where they did the price gouging shit. Like, sure, New York Times and mainstream media immediately did the classic, like, one, how are you going to pay for it? Two, this is like, Venezuela or whatever. But overall, it has consistently remained popular. And as a matter of fact, even despite the fact that Donald Trump keeps calling Kamala, Comrade Harris,